Welcome back, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into The Little Being by Silvia Hartmann.
The little being.
Now, you might be thinking, a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
What deep insights can we get from that?
Yeah.
But hold on, this isn't your average bedtime story.
No, no, not at all. I mean, Sylvia Hartman, she's known for this very unique style of writing that she actually calls metasong.
hmm
And she describes that as like a hypnotic language that comes from meditative states.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and this is somebody who wrote an entire novel live on Google Docs.
Oh,
And it landed her a spot in the British Library's The History of Books in 100 Books.
okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, she's a creative powerhouse, that's for sure.
And I've heard she believes that fairy tales can speak to us on this deeper level,
Yeah.
like beyond the surface of the words.
Oh, absolutely. And the little being is a perfect example of that. It starts with this creature, small, furry, wet, constantly scurrying around, living in this state of perpetual fear.
Right.
But what's really striking, I think, is that it doesn't even have a name.
You're right. That detail really stood out to me, too. It's like she deliberately took away its identity.
Yeah,
It makes it this almost universal symbol of vulnerability.
exactly. Yeah. And the lack of a name, it really emphasizes that powerlessness, its anonymity. It's almost like it doesn't really exist as an individual until, well, until that pivotal moment, the foot incident.
Ouch, yeah.
Yeah.
That scene made me wince just reading it.
Yeah.
But it's more than just a physical injury, right?
Oh, absolutely. That cry of ouch is so significant because it's the first time the little being vocalizes anything.
Right.
It's the first time it asserts itself, expresses its existence in the world.
And it's that cry that draws the attention of the greater being. And the way Hartman describes the greater being, scooping it up, taking it to this safe space, it felt almost like a symbolic rebirth.
Yeah, it really does. That's a great observation. That safe space.
Yeah.
It's such a contrast to the little being's previous existence, the warmth, the golden light, the delicious food, clean water. It's all described in these really vivid sensory details. It really represents this sanctuary, I think, where healing and transformation can begin.
And then we see the little being starting to explore itself in this new environment.
Yeah.
Like it's fascinated by its tail, its hands, its reflection.
Yeah.
Almost like it's discovering its own body, its own being for the first time.
It is. Think about it. Before this, life was all about survival, just reacting to the harshness of the world. But now, for the first time, it has the time and the space to look inward, to explore its own identity.
And then, comes that moment where the little being sees the greater being through the wall.
Hmm.
That scene felt so emotionally charged.
Oh, yeah.
It remembers the foot, the pain, the fear, but there's also this dawning understanding.
I think that's exactly it. It's this really complex mix of emotions. On one hand, you have the memory of that trauma.
Right.
But on the other hand, there's this growing awareness that the greater being is also the source of its safety and comfort.
And that understanding allows this incredible friendship to blossom between them.
Oh, it's beautiful.
They play, they learn, they experience joy together. It's just this beautiful depiction of connection and how powerful a bond can be.
And what's really interesting is that this relationship, it really mirrors the little being's own transformation. It started alone, nameless, lost. But now it's part of this loving connection, experiencing the richness and depth of a true bond.
hmm
It's almost as if Hartman is saying that true self-discovery can't really happen in isolation.
Right.
We need others to reflect ourselves back to us to help us really understand who we are.
And it's interesting how she then introduces other beings into the story.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of expands the little being's world even more.
Mm.
Like she's showing us the importance of community,
Yeah,
finding our place in a larger group.
absolutely. It's not just about that one-on-one relationship with the greater being. It really is about understanding that we all belong to this web of connections, this wider social fabric.
But what I found really interesting was the ending.
Okay.
She leaves it so open-ended.
Yeah.
We don't know what happens to the little being.
We don't know exactly. We're told they live happily ever after, which is like that classic fairy tale trope.
Right.
But she doesn't spell it out, the specifics. It's really up to our imaginations to envision, what that happily ever after might look like.
It's almost like she's inviting us to be co-creators of the story,
Yeah, I like that.
to fill in the blanks with our own hopes and aspirations for the little being.
That's a really cool way to look at it, I think. And it really speaks to the power of fairy tales in general.
hmm
They offer us these kind of archetypal narratives, but they also leave space for individual interpretation
Yeah.
and personal meaning making.
And there's this subtle suggestion that the little being might grow up to help others,
Yeah.
mirroring the greater being's compassion. It's like this
Yeah.
beautiful cycle of kindness and transformation.
It is. And, you're picking up on a key theme here. The idea that, the recipient of care can become a caregiver.
Right.
The little being was so helpless and vulnerable, but now it has the potential to be this source of strength and support for others.
That's so powerful. It really makes you think about the little beings in our own lives.
Right.
Maybe they're not, literal furry creatures,
Right.
but people who are struggling, lost, or just need a little extra support.
Exactly. And it challenges us to think about how we can embody that greater being energy in our own interactions with others,
Yeah.
How can we create safe spaces for people to heal,
Mm.
to grow, to discover their own potential?
That's such an important question. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in our own worlds and
Absolutely.
not even notice the people around us who might be hurting or just need a helping hand.
Yeah.
This story is just this reminder to be more attentive, more compassionate.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to the transformative power of kindness itself.
Mm.
Just like the greater being's actions had this huge impact on the little being, our acts of kindness, no matter how small they are, they can ripple outwards and create positive change in the world.
One thing that struck me was how Hartman never explicitly states what the little being's purpose is.
Yeah.
It's just left open, suggesting that maybe we each have the power to define our own purpose.
I agree. The story doesn't try to impose a specific destiny on the little being. It just shows us this transformative journey that it undergoes and then leaves the future open to possibility.
It's like she's saying, here's a blueprint for growth and healing.
Right.
Now go out and create your own story.
And I think that's a really empowering message. It reminds us that even though we might start from a place of vulnerability, like the little being, we all have this capacity for incredible transformation and growth.
It's about finding our own inner golden light and then, sharing that light with the world.
And that's really where the true magic lies. She reminds us that even the smallest, most unassuming beings have the potential to make a difference.
It's not about grand gestures,
Oh.
heroic feats. It's about those, everyday acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Those moments of connection that can really transform lives.
I mean, she doesn't shy away from the harsh realities,
Right.
that the little being faces at the beginning. The wet, the matted fur, that constant fear, the lack of even a name. It's a stark reminder of the vulnerability that exists in the world, the challenges that so many people face.
But it's not a story about despair.
Mm.
It's a story about hope.
Absolutely. It's about the possibility of healing, of finding connection and belonging, even when you're facing adversity.
And it's about the importance of choosing compassion, of seeing beyond those surface appearances, and recognizing the inherent worth in every being. It's a call to action for all of us.
Oh, I love how you put that, a call to action. Because it's not enough to just read the story and feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Right.
You have to take those feelings and translate them into action.
We have to look around and ask ourselves, who are the little beings in my life?
Mm-hmm.
How can I offer them support, encouragement, a safe space to grow?
And it's not just about helping others, is it?
Right.
It's also about recognizing the little being within ourselves.
Oh, that's good.
Those parts of us that feel scared, lost, unworthy. How can we offer those parts of ourselves the same kindness and compassion that the greater being showed the little being?
That's such a profound insight.
Mm-hmm.
We often talk about self-love,
Yeah.
but framing it in terms of nurturing our inner little being,
Yeah,
it adds a whole new dimension to it.
it does.
It's about recognizing our own vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and then offering ourselves the same care and tenderness that we would offer, a loved one in need.
Exactly. And I think that's a really beautiful way to tie back to Hartman's concept of metasong.
Yeah.
It's not just about the words on the page. It's about that deeper emotional resonance, the way that the story speaks to us on a subconscious level.
Right.
And it invites us to connect with those universal experiences of vulnerability, transformation, and the power of human connection.
Yeah, it feels like she's encouraging us to look beyond the surface,
Mm-hmm.
to see the potential for transformation and growth, even in those who might seem small or insignificant.
It really is a powerful message, especially in a world that often just values outward appearances and achievements, right?
Yeah.
The little being really reminds us to look deeper, to recognize that inherent worth in every being, regardless of their circumstances.
And it's not about imposing our own ideas of, what that worth should be.
Right.
It's about um, creating that space
Hmm.
for individuals to discover their own purpose, like the little being does.
Exactly. And notice how that journey of self-discovery, how it's all interwoven with the theme of connection, the little being's transformation. It really unfolds in relationship with the greater being and the wider community.
It's not a solitary journey. It
Yeah.
really isn't.
Yeah.
She seems to be saying that true growth happens in connection with others
Hmm.
through, those bonds of love, friendship, shared experience.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if we can really, truly discover ourselves in isolation,
Hmm.
or if we need those mirrors reflecting back to us, helping us see our potential, our own beauty.
It's a question we're thinking about, and it ties back to what we were saying earlier about the little beings in our lives.
Yeah.
Maybe part of being a greater being is recognizing that we all need support. We all have moments of vulnerability.
Yeah.
We all have something unique and valuable to offer the world.
It's fascinating, how her story operates on these multiple levels. On the surface, it's this enchanting fairy tale about, this little creature finding its place in the world.
Hmm.
But underneath, it's really this deep exploration of, universal themes like transformation, compassion, the interconnectedness of all beings.
And it leaves us with this beautiful, lingering question. How can we each become greater beings in our own worlds?
Mm.
How can we cultivate that same sense of kindness, compassion, and just unwavering support for the little beings all around us?
It's a challenge, for sure, but it's also an invitation, an opportunity to create a world where everyone, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, has the chance to flourish.
Well said. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Sylvia Hartmann's The Little Being.
It's been a pleasure.
It's a story that will definitely stay with me, and I hope everyone listening will check out more of her work. Her other fairy tales are incredible too. They're really a gift, not just for children, but for anyone who wants to understand the human experience on a deeper level.